Deadly Dames, and this is our video entry into Horror Fan Man's 1000 subscribers contest. I really liked his questions. It got me thinking about the movies, and basically he wanted you to say your favourite horror films from the 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, and then sort of most recent. And it proper got us thinking. So starting off with the 70s, I picked Black Christmas because I absolutely love this Christmas horror film. It's perfect. Like, you can't flaw Black Christmas. It literally has the slasher genre to a T. Now, it was very close to Halloween, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people were maybe the same as me. I'm not sure. It'd be good to watch some of their videos and see. But for me, I like the dynamic of Black Christmas. I like that there's a kind of whodunit storyline going on, along with like a kind of more dark, sinister storyline with the child going missing. And I'll never forget the first time that my sister watched this movie, because I think we'd actually watched it after either being at work all day, or it was either a night out, and she fell asleep and she woke up to the eyeball scene, and she is still to this day petrified of Black Christmas. So this is my 70s movie, and it's a movie that I will watch every single Christmas, and it's a must have. If you've never seen it, definitely watch this film. So then moving on to the 80s, I had to go with Nightmare on Elm Street, because I'm a child of the 80s, and I literally don't know any children from the 80s that are not scared of Freddy Krueger. Now I'm growing up and I've seen these movies many times. It doesn't scare me quite as much as it used to, but even at night time, the first Nightmare on Elm Street by myself, not entirely sure I'd picked this movie to watch before going to bed, because he's an icon. Like, I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't know who Freddy Krueger is, and for me, he defines like horror in the 80s for me. So then I went to the 90s, and it had to be Wes Craven again, because for me, in the 90s, as a teenager, Scream was the movie. Like, everybody knew what the movie Scream was, and I remember getting it on VHS, and I always wish I'd hung on to that VHS, because I had the iconic white cover with Drew Barrymore's face on it. And up until, because obviously before Scream came out, there was a lot of, like, as much as I love Nightmare on Elm Street, there was many sequels, and by the time it got to New Nightmare, it kind of became ridiculous, in the same with Friday the 13th and Halloween and all these franchises. And Scream was like a breath of fresh air, because it came out and it knew the horror genre, and it played on that, because everybody knew what the format was. Everybody knew that girls made stupid mistakes in horror films, and if you had sex you were going to die, and you don't say I'll be right back. But Scream was the first movie to actually point that out, and for me, it was a milestone in my life. Like, Scream came out and I just loved it. I've seen this movie so many times, and recently, like, I know it's kind of gone off topic for the video, but obviously Matthew Lillard's just been announced as going to Edinburgh Horror Con. Cannot wait now, because I just love to meet him from this movie. I think he was brilliant in it. But yeah, my 90s movie, it was always going to be Scream. There was never going to be another movie that kind of challenged it. Now, the one that I found the most difficult was the noughties, and very luckily I came across a movie which was from the year 2000, which made it okay. So, because although a lot of movies came out in the noughties, I couldn't really think of one that defined it for me, because I actually thought this movie was the 90s, but then I had to double check it, and it is definitely year 2000 it came out, and that is Final Destination. Now, it is a horror film, but it's kind of more, it could be more thriller than a horror, but I'm going to class it as a horror film. I remember going to see this in the cinema, and again, as I said, after Scream there was a lot of kind of movies exactly like Scream that came out, like Urban Legend and Valentine and movies like that, and as much as they were okay, they didn't live up to how good Scream was. And again, Final Destination for me was like a breath of fresh air, because it wasn't a mass killer, it was death himself, and that idea always gave me the creeps, that you could know you're going to die, and even saving someone's life, or like it passes yourself, it comes right back to you. And I just thought this was a genius idea. And even though all the sequels were a little bit silly, everybody loved watching that first opening sequence, especially, I'd probably say, I was going to say number 2, but I mean the first one with the airplane is iconic, but I mean for the sequels, like 2 is probably the one that everyone remembers. You know, you never really think of Highway to Hell from AC/DC the same again. and I think they round it up perfectly when they got to part 5. It got a little bit silly, but I liked how it linked back to the initial amazing first Final Destination. So for me, the naughties was definitely this film. I just loved that it did something different instead of sort of killer in a mask, which had kind of been done to death by then. And then more recent, and I had to go with extremely recent, because this movie for me, again, I'm just going to use the phrase a breath of fresh air, because although there had been so many recent horror films which are very good, like It Follows and The Witch and The Boy, and I'm trying to think, there's loads of them. There's literally lots of good films, Don't Breathe, things like that have come out. This one for me reminded me of childhood, because I love films, and I think everybody that does these channels love movies, and the movies that made me love films other than horror and adventure, because as much as I like sci-fi as well, horror and adventure is where it lies for me. They're the films that I love. But the movies that made me obsessed with films were the ones like Monster Squad and Goonies and Stand By Me, where it was like kids fighting monsters or kids and adventures, because as a kid you wanted to be that child in that film. And I think I'm probably giving away what my movie is, plus I think I kind of moved my camera up to it there whilst I was talking. And it is it. I think this is a perfect movie. The way that this movie was retold, it took everything that I loved about childhood in the movies that I loved, like as I said, like Monster Squad and Goonies and adventure films like that, and it just got it perfect for modern times. And yes, it's got jump scares, and yes, it's got parts that are missing, and I'm hoping this little bit here that says unseen extras is going to fill in some of them. But for me, it was just a perfect movie that made me think back to the films that I loved as a child. You know, these group of kids coming of age, fighting against a monster that the adults don't realise is there. Now, even as an adult, I still remember the magic of being a kid watching films like this. And there isn't a movie that I've been dying to watch as much as this one. And I went to see this 3 times at the cinema, so considering I was desperate to see it a 4th time, and you know something, it's the type of film that I think I could probably rewatch a million times and still love it. I can't wait for part 2. I hope that part 2 lives up to part 1. But I think this was a great competition that Horror Fan Man came up with to get you talking about and reminiscing on the films that you love from over the years. And I'm looking forward to watching other people's films. Not had time to do it yet, but I'm looking forward to watching other people's competition entries. Excuse me, because I think it's a great opportunity for you to talk about movies that you love. And I hope you like the movies that I picked. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and go check out Horror Fan Man, and congratulations on reaching 1,000 subscribers. Take care.